In this episode, I talked to my new friend Jarrett, who goes by Adameant as his artist name. He's a 19-year-old vocalist slash artist who I was talking to him for like 2 hours one night because we're working on a song together, and I was like, this dude's doing a lot of things right that I see some very successful people do from all my conversations in this series. And so I was like, you got to hop on a podcast episode because you're doing some awesome things, and I think everyone in my community can learn from it. And so we talk about how he's developing his studio, how he can monetize his skill set to kind of provide him freedom to actually make the music long term, and also just how he thinks about music and building a brand and community in general. Anyways, I think you're going to find a lot of value in this episode, so I hope you enjoy. Let everyone know that's watching the live show, watching the podcast, listening to the podcast, and watching the YouTube channel, who you are, what you do, and what you're all about.
Yo, what's up? So my name is Adameant. That's like the rapper name I've got for myself. My real name is Jarrett, and I've just been making music. I've been making music for the last 5 to 6, maybe 7 years. That's as far as like, I was penning in the pad. I was like, I became obsessed with like poetry because that was like my escape from the world, and we need that nowadays. But it wasn't until 2 years ago that I actually recorded something. And I recorded one album that just sat there, and I was in a buddy's studio, and the music's come a long way since then. I actually took that off of iTunes and Spotify, but the beginning of 2020, it's actually funny, and I hate that. And me and Andrew talk about it. And I bring them up all the time. But I was scrolling through YouTube, and I found Ruslan, and I hopped in his community, and seeing the drive that those people had ever since then, I'm like, I'm gonna get on my game and actually make something out of this. So like ever since the beginning of 2020, that's when I've taken like all of my experience or all of my writing, and then actually like, okay, now it's time for me to execute and make a way. But I make the slogan I used to have was "Welcome to Rejected," and I make music to help the people that everyone else wants to reject, or just anyone that needs help. That's kind of what I've always been about. Is music saved my life, so in return, I want to help do the same for someone else.
That's a very I don't know what the word for it is, but that's a very cool message that behind your music. Like that's actually something that means something, because a lot of artists will I don't know, I feel like a lot of people get into it for the wrong reasons, and I think the number one reason should always be either because it's something you love, or you want to do something that's actually like meaningful, like I don't necessarily make music because like, oh, I need all this attention and I want people to love me like that. I feel like that's the reason for a lot of, especially rappers, no offense rappers out there, but
no, I think a lot of it is and I can't say that I don't have the same drive, but you notice everyone that's like huge had like a terrible past or something, and it's like those insecurities that we have. Like a lot of people, like with girls especially, or with guys, it's like they don't think they're pretty enough, so they're gonna work as hard as they can get to get a gazillion likes on Instagram, whatever that takes. And it's the same thing with rappers and with any other artist. I think a lot of times, and it's all in how you channel that. We have a lot of things that drive us, but do we channel that to be, in a bad way or in a good way? I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. And cool thing. So I've actually brought you up on 2 prior podcasts, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel bad. I ain't heard it. I'm slacking.
Yeah, it's all good. But I didn't drop you by name because I didn't know if like we were going to end up actually working on stuff at that point. But I brought you up, I think, talking to Young L3X or Young Lex, and because we were talking about the whole idea of like collaborating with other artists and the balance between like clout and just like collaborating with people because you think they have good skill sets. And then I think it was last night I was talking with Outlook the rapper, and it came up where we were talking about networking and how artists without an audience can reach out to people and provide a reason why someone would collaborate with them, right? And so I brought you up a couple of times. I'm like, I was just like hanging out in Ruslan's live stream, and I heard this song that, because he has that review thing every Friday, or Fan Love Friday specifically. And I heard a song with dope vocals on it, and I just like messaged you on Instagram. I'm like, yo, your vocals are dope. And that's how we like met, and now we're working on a song together. And I think that's a great example of how you in your case, you could reach out to a lot of people with followings bigger than yours, because you have a very distinct voice, and you have I think a like really damn good voice. And so like that's a good thing, right? Because what's the number one thing what's one of the hardest things for any producer to get? Good vocals. And you have a specific skill, and this is not your only thing. We'll talk about the other ones later, but you have the ability to reach out to a lot of people and essentially collaborate with them, even though you won't have the same size audience in some cases. That's a very significant value that you can provide in exchange for getting on a larger artist's track, you know?
Yeah. I think the other thing with me with collaborating, and honestly it's sad, but like the song that me and you're doing is one of my first like actual legitimate collaborations. I've got a buddy that I'm doing we're trying to get a bunch of songs out, but we're just going to do like a dual release now. But just that's the homie though. That's not like, this is a guy that I've never met. I want to build a relationship. And that's what's important to me. Even with someone that is huge or with someone that is small, I don't want to just make music with that person. I would rather, like me and you, we started working on a song and we're like, yeah, let's call and talk about the song. And 2 hours later, we're talking about Gary Vee. That's what I care about. Like, it makes me excited to make music with people that are not only like-minded, but people that I can have a genuine relationship with. And when the song's over, our relationship and our friendship and our conversation isn't. Right. And that's what's important to me is I would rather make a song with a guy that has 500 followers and make a genuine relationship than Drake, and I just be like a passerby that he's just doing it for as a favor. Which, granted, that probably is terrible business because I could pop off because of that. But like, maybe I'd make an exception in that. But like, I would rather make the relationships. I don't know.
I totally agree. Like, and when I was talking to Young Lex, also he mentioned that he's collaborated. I brought this up last night, and everyone makes fun of me for not knowing who Joyner Lucas is.
Oh, you gotta know that, dude. Yeah. All right, I don't want to cut you off. Dopest visuals you'll ever see.
Really?
Some of the nastiest visuals you will ever see.
All right, well,
that and Billie Eilish.
I'll check. Billie Eilish has some dope visuals. I'll check it out after this. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so he has a song with Joyner Lucas, and he did it like in 2016, and he was saying like back then they were like, he wasn't as poppin' as he is now, so it wasn't really like a clout thing. It was just like they were in the same area, and they were doing it in the same niche, so they just collaborated, and it was more like for fun and friendship and in the same scene than it was like a strategic business decision. And then what happened is later, that guy blew up, and so that's the other thing is like. A lot of the times this stuff is just fun, right? Like it's even if nothing comes of it, it's just kind of cool to work with other musicians because the act of being a producer or a vocalist is kind of a very solo existence. It's not like being in a band where the whole nature of the project is like you're all close friends and you're working together all the time. You're a solo artist and it's very lonely. So it's great to network. And we have some comments that I'll just read through.
Yo, Zachary. All right, Zachary Beineman. That guy's a legend on the keyboard. All right, I just got to tell you.
All right.
I follow him on IG. That man's a legend on the keyboard.
You just built up you've been building up a pretty solid studio. And when we talked last week, we talked a little bit about how you kind of got into that and you were how you were thinking about how to justify the price of having a home studio long term. So I don't know if that sets you off on a good path to just start talking about your studio and your mindset around that.
Yeah. So me and Andrew were talking the other day and we were talking about wealth, and I'm only 19. I ain't got wealth. I'm going to tell you right now. I ain't got it yet, but if I did, my music would be way further than it is. But it's laying the foundation is what I'm working on right now. And that's what I've been working on for a year now with that studio is it's come a long way. And I've put a lot, cause I've done everything so my studio is in the warehouse that I work, but basically since I'm the videographer, I do editing. So I've self-taught myself everything. So that's one thing I say is really important is teaching yourself trades or things that not everybody can do. Because not only can I don't know how to say that right. Ruslan always has the best way to say it, but basically like videography. Not everybody can pick up a camera and shoot something the way that I can shoot it. That's not because I'm the best at it. It's just because like I've taught myself a little bit about foreground, background, you know, the movements and how to the f-stop, everything. So like I've taught myself that, especially with audio. So my background in music kind of bled into my job. And now I'm like, yo, let me do these radio commercials because they need that. And I was like, I'll pay for the studio. I'll build it. I'll do everything. Just let me use the room. So I've got like a 20 by 20 room that was someone's office. It had filing cabinets, 4 or 5. I mean, no, not even that. Like 10 or 15 boxes full of books. I mean, just a mess. And it had been sitting there. So I came in there, and over the course of like 3 days, I cleaned everything out of the room and had a literal empty room. And from there, I was like, so what do I do now? So I just started going to town every night. I was acoustically treating it. I was doing this and working on that. So I mean, it's a year of constant, you know, figuring things out. Okay, how do I get the money to do this and to do that? And it was just like saving a little bit and things. And I wasn't always in the position I am now. But, you know, and then I was able to leverage that with my company, you know, like, yo, I have the studio now. Y'all can do radio commercials. And so I was offering them something. They were offering me something. And so I had this nice room and everything, but I also could offer them stuff. So I started purchasing stuff on the low end. Like I said, I had a Bluebird and a Scarlett and things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm one of those people that's obsessed with like perfection, and that's my crutch. But like that's my thing. So I was like, so how do I make it sound better? I just wasn't happy with where it was. So I started very small. I started with the Bluebird and with which is like a $300 mic from like Guitar Center, and then like $100 Scarlett, and that was it. And I just started playing and learning the craft of engineering and how to do all that, which isn't very difficult at that stage, but you know, it was just learning how to navigate Logic and how to do all that stuff. And then I started building, and I just kept thinking to myself, okay, I got to make it better. So then I upgraded to a channel strip by PreSonus, which is actually, you know, it did good. It's like a $300 channel strip that has a tube preamp, VCA compressor, and an EQ. And up till a month ago, I did every song on that. Rocket was on that. Every song I've ever recorded was on that. Nothing new has come out with my new setup. But so like you can, for $1,000, make a really quality setup with like a Bluebird and a channel strip and $100. Like legit, like you don't have to spend money to make things great. But now I've got to the point where I'm getting I'm not in the big boy leagues, but I'm also not in the consumer grade, not as much anymore. But you know, I was just like, I had started my own videography business. So I'm working 8 hours a day at my main job, and then I'm working 5 hours on music, and then at like 2 a.m. in the morning, I'm doing that. So I was doing everything I can, and I still am, to leverage, like, to get the money to put back into music. So working hard, busting my tail to do all that. And then it's like, you know, my girlfriend's like, well, why are you spending this money? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? Because like we're talking about getting married next year. So she's like, we gotta be saving for this and that. And it's just like, and I'm thinking to myself, like, well, am I stupid for doing this? Like I've done spent $3,000 on this, and then I've got this mic that I just went and bought that was $800. And I guess like, so like, you know, am I just an idiot that's like recklessly spending his money, or can I actually use it for something? And I was talking to Andrew about it, and I've kind of gotten this thing. Ruslan sent me. I keep going to Ruslan. He's like inspired me so much.
I've mentioned him a lot on these podcasts thing, because like even my entire video setup right now is like, after I talked to him, it completely changed my video workflow, and it just saves me tons of time. So I feel you. Like he's a cool dude. He's great.
Hustling,
he inspires me a lot too.
My dude is a hustler. He put out like 2 videos just alone yesterday. He's got TikTok. Like the guy's like just killing it, like working his tail off. And he's such the thing that I get is he's such a genuine dude. Like at the end of the day, like, yeah, he's doing all this stuff. Yeah, he's built an insane brand for himself and like lane, but like he's so genuine at the end of the day that he'll take all of his time just to work with somebody or just to chop it up with someone. Like that means everything. But so I was talking to Andrew. I was like, all right, so not only how do I justify this for myself, but how do I justify it for my girlfriend and for all these things? And how do I not feel stupid? And what am I doing? And I was just talking. I was like, at the end of the day, I could flip this into a revenue stream. And I'm getting to where my studio is where I feel justified that I could charge someone $30, $40 an hour to come record in my studio, because I've spent a year learning how to use the equipment. I've spent a year building it and making it, in my opinion, probably one of the nicer studios in my town that no one knows about yet. But like, and the thing is like, not only am I pouring into myself, because music is my freedom, music is my way out. Like I don't, if you understand that, you understand that I deal with a lot of anxiety and a lot of the depression and things that I fight, and music is my Xanax, music is my healing. So like, not only was I investing into my sanity and myself and this music that I'm dreaming of one day to be able to achieve and to be able to chase, but I'm also investing in, okay, at the end of the day, if my music doesn't work out, I can take everything that I've done and I can create a business out of it. Yeah. And I could legit move it to a building, pay some rent, and I guarantee I could be doing 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours a week or a day, just pulling people in the studio. So it's like, yes, I'm spending all this money. Not only am I investing into myself and into the craft that I dreamed, and I'm investing into other people. I have 3 or 4 people that record with me regular that I give them free studio time. Not only am I investing into them, myself, and my brand, I'm also investing into a business that if 3 years down the road, I need extra cash, or 3 years down the road, I just, music isn't it for me. I feel like it ain't going to work out. I can say, okay, this isn't garbage. I don't just have to throw everything away or sell it on Facebook Marketplace. No, I can make a business out of it. Yeah. So like, that's the thing, is like invest. And I'm not the best at this. I'm still a kid. And I told Andrew, I feel weird talking about this stuff because I don't have everything to show for it. Like if I was a millionaire, I'd be like, this is what you need to invest in. But like, that's not who I am. So like, I just say it out of my experience, like I'm doing, yes, I'm spending money. Yes, I'm doing things that a lot of people wouldn't do, but I'm doing that with the mindset of I'm investing into a future, or I'm investing into a revenue stream. And I don't know if that makes sense, but like, no, that's where it's at.
It makes a ton of sense. And you know, one of the reasons why I thought that even if you aren't currently at like impressive numbers or having $1 million business with this stuff yet, one of the reasons why I thought it'd be good to have you on as a guest is because the stuff you're doing is what I see time and time again of people that currently have success did in the past. And, you know, different levels of it. I mean, like that's what I've done, is I treat every piece of music gear I buy as an investment, because I think, well, worst case scenario, if you buy good gear, you can sell it at like 90% of the price you paid for it. Good music gear holds its value like better than most things. Like a car's not going to do that. The second you buy a car, knock 30% off the price in terms of what you could resell it for. But music gear, especially Eurorack and synths, like I bought a 1984 analog synth for like $1,200. That thing was built in 1984, and the price goes up every year. So when you think about the worst case scenario for building a studio, that's the worst case, is like you lose 10% of your investment. The best case is you turn it into the biggest part of your music business, and recording and production and mixing and mastering is often one of the biggest money makers. Like making music and being an artist is one of the hardest niches in music to actually like pursue raw, but the skills around music are a lot, can be very profitable. Like I went to a guy just to record some samples in his studio. He had like a bunch of cool vintage gear, and I paid him $60 an hour just to go in there, and all he had to do is just hit record, export, and send me the files. I wasn't hiring him to do mixing or tracking, just open a raw channel, let me play around with his music gear, and I paid him $60 an hour, because for me, that was value. So yeah, like what you're doing, it's like so many people that I've talked to do it. And like, as you said, Ruslan brings up that idea of like investing in what you do and building skill sets that can be careers in their own, because, you know, the way that he says it and the way you said it before is that the less people have a skill set, the more it's worth. And that's
talent stacking. That's what he calls it. He calls it talent stacking, because like it's literally insane the money people make doing videography. Okay. So, I'm charging like $500 right now to do a wedding, because I'm not well known. I don't feel justified. Even though I'll make the same quality, I don't feel justified. Well, I found a guy literally on a photo shoot last week. He was kind of around a C300D, and I was like, this guy's got like a $5,000 camera in his hands. Let's see what he does for a living. And I started chopping it up. And now not only is he going to film for me, but he was like, I need an extra A-cam to film in my weddings. I'll pay you $50 an hour for your first 10 weddings and $500 a day after your first 10 weddings. Okay, so what I'm charging to show up, meet the family, edit the video, film the video, do everything by myself. He said, you show up and do A-camera and hand me the SD card and I'll pay you the same amount. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, but it's stuff like that. Like, that's just proof that people are making money at the wazoo with this stuff. So like, if you're starting your music, not only, in my opinion, the most important thing to start with, build your own setup. Even if it's little, the amount of, you can literally just go underground and no one has to hear you. No one has to judge you. You can make 100 songs and find what is me. Who am I? What is my voice? What can I do that someone else can't do? So that is because my first album was super rap. I'm spitting bars like that type of thing. And I always listened to John Bellion, 21 Pilots, and all these people, and I always dreamed of being able to mix the two like a John Bellion does. But I never thought I had the voice, and I still don't think I have the voice. But back then, I really didn't think I had the voice, and I'd never allowed myself to learn my voice, and I'm still learning it. But I didn't know it at all. I didn't know how to do my falsettos and how to do this and how to add the rasp and I didn't know how to do any of that. It took me I've got like 300 songs in my thing. 90% of them are absolute garbage, but like it gave me a spot to go lock in. I'm not wasting anyone's time. I can take 8 hours on it if I want to. It doesn't matter if it gets used. I don't have to pay anybody to do it. I can go lock myself away and I can just learn myself. I can learn my craft. And that is number one. But like second, you've got to make visuals to cut through. You've got to do these things. So like, not only is it smart to just get an iPhone gimbal and start shooting on your iPhone. So now you can record your stuff. You practice learning how to frame stuff. YouTube University. That's where I learned everything. I'm making a full-time job just because I spent 70, 80, 90, 100 hours, a lot more than that probably, but like just in YouTube, learning how to do things. And because of that, I've learned talents that I make a full-time living doing now. But you learn how to shoot it on a gimbal or how to frame things, how to shoot things. Then you learn how to edit. And now all of a sudden you can charge people to use your studio. You can charge people to shoot and direct their videos. You can charge people to edit their videos. And now not only are you doing something for your music, now all of a sudden you've made a side hustle that can push back into your music. You can pay for Facebook ads. So like, that's the cool thing is like, yo, even if you're shooting on an iPhone gimbal, like legit, what you learn to do on your music, you can take and make a business or a revenue stream out of it. Like it doesn't have to just be wasted and sit in the corner.
And the nice thing with that is too that if you're currently in a position where your job or something doesn't give you the freedom to go and pursue what you want to do to the scale you want to pursue it, learning these skills, you might be able to eventually make. I mean, you do video production, shooting, editing full time, and I would imagine that's somewhat flexible in terms of like, well, I don't know. It depends. I know you work at certain hours, but like, if you had something cool with your music, like I think you'd have the freedom to kind of leave early and do stuff around that, depending on like, I mean, I know you work at a disaster relief organization, so maybe that's a little more niche case, but with your like own business with that, if that grew to the extent you wanted it to, you could do that and essentially make your own hours, be your own boss, and it gives you the freedom to fund your own music and not just fund it in cash, but fund it in time,
Yeah, if you start your business or if you're all right, because I didn't do this. I literally, when I was 15, I started working at a tank museum. My neighbors owned a museum, and I asked them
museum? What is it like?
Yep, it's a tank. They have like every type of gun from like the Civil War to like World War II, and then like they have like some of Hitler's like generals like uniforms and like so all this memorabilia, and then they have like 60 or 70. They have 3 warehouse buildings full of tanks, like M1s and Shermans and Panzers. So I was like, hey, do y'all have some work I could do? Because like at 15, like I've grown up around a dad that hustles and that does stuff. So I was like, I want to hustle and make my money. And it started because I wanted to buy a pair of Beats. I wanted to buy a pair of Beats headphones, but I wasn't getting paid enough of my like $10 a month allowance to buy me a pair of beats. So I like asked them, can I like work for you? And my first job, they had like 30 fire hydrants. I had to scrape the old paint off the fire hydrants and repaint it with oil paint in like 100-degree weather.
Ooh.
And that was my first job. And then after that, they had center block walls, and the center block walls would peel and flake, and they would actually get water that would pus up inside of it. So I would take a putty knife and scrape the paint off these walls and repaint them. Like, I was their janitor, like legitimately. That's who I was I worked for them like 4 years doing that. And then I noticed they didn't have anything going on Instagram, anything. I asked them, hey, would you pay me to do some of your flyers and to do some of your, some stuff around the museum as far as that? And sure enough, all of a sudden I went from their janitor to, hey, now I'm doing all their photos. Now I'm making all their flyers and doing all of their social media. And it was just funny how like I took that stuff that I used from YouTube and other things, and I just started, and that's where it started. And then from there, I started, I was probably, what's 11th grade? Junior? Is it junior?
Yeah,
is that junior in high school? Yeah. So I was a junior in high school, and then I started cleaning bathrooms at a hospital. I literally I would get off, I'd leave school, and I would go at 5 o'clock to like 10 o'clock, and I would clean bathrooms in a hospital. And so I didn't always do this. It wasn't just like, hey, here you go, do this. Like, I've been a janitor for like the past 5 or 6 years. Like, that's what I did as a kid up to now.
Yeah.
And I took the money I was making as a janitor and started building my studio. And like, only in the past year have I been blessed enough to upgrade and to start making a little bit more money and to be able to actually pour into stuff. But like, no matter who you are, where you're at, you can do it. Like, legitimately, it's just all in budgeting and what is important to you. If buying the new PS5 this is what I look at it as. Like, I thought about this the other day. That PS5 is going to be like $600. You could buy an incredible complete studio for $600. Yeah. But I guarantee you, people are going to tell you, I can't build a studio, it's too expensive. We'll turn around and buy a PS5. I guarantee you. So it's like, what's important to you? Well, what's important to you? Like,
I was having a kind of a related topic, but also kind of off topic, where it's come up a few times where people like, there's no way that I'm going to spend like $2,000 on a good enough computer. Like, because you need a pretty solid computer to handle like audio production, at least in electronic music, where all the synthesizers and stuff. And people are like, oh, I can't afford a $2,000 computer. But, well, I agree, that's a lot of money. A lot of people will go out and get the newest iPhone every 2 years and spend $1,000 on it. Or when you get a computer, my first iMac lasted me 7 years, and my next one lasted me 6. So, yeah, I spent $2,000 on the first one. Well, I mean, I was young then, so my parents got it for me. But my newest one I bought, and I spent like $3,000 on it. But the reason why I don't care about that is because it's going to last me like 7 years, And every year people go out and dump so much money on these phones. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but if you're going to go and complain that you can't afford either a studio or a good computer to run a DAW, then you probably need to look at your life and reevaluate what you're buying. Like, a PS5, whatever it ends up costing, it's going to be a good amount of music gear you could buy. Like, my audio interface costs less than the price of the PS4. I think that was like $400 or something. Mm-hmm. Or it costs roughly the same. I mean, so like, what do you want? A audio interface that's going to last you a decade, or a PlayStation 4 that's going to be replaced in 5 years? Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, and like, if you're fortunate, you can have both, but I fully acknowledge that, that's not everyone.
Also, if you work hard enough, you can have both. That's the thing. And that's what my thing has been. Like, I'm working like 12 hours a day so that I can do this stuff, because I also have a car payment, and I also have, which I'm probably selling soon, but I also have a car payment. I have this, that, and the other I have to pay for. And like, the thing that I've struggled with is like, okay, I'm putting out music now. It costs me $150, $200 a song. Then I have to market that. Then I have to, so like, it's not just like throw out a song. It's like, no, if I want to pour in my studio, I've also got to think about the $400 I'm going to put into this song this month, and then this, and then if I have to pay someone to do video, and then, so that's why I'm doing my side hustle. That's why when I get off at 5 o'clock, I'm going to film for 3 hours, then come into the studio for another couple hours. And then granted, it might be, I've had almost 1 to 2 days a week, I'm working till 3 or 4 a.m. to get a video edited for somebody. And I do that because because I do want to be able to drive my car. I do want to be able to put gas in. I do want to maybe go out and eat once a week, and then pour into my music gear. And this month has been the biggest thing about that is I've invested in the 500 series, which if you want to get out of just an interface, that is the best thing to get into, because you can get the chassis is a little expensive to get started. It's like $500, but after that, you're talking about getting a Neve compressor that would be like $3,000 for like one. So like it pays off in the long run, and it's very portable and it's very easy to use. So I was like, yo, I want to get this compressor. Like I want to upgrade, and all. That's why I was telling you, just wait. I have a better setup coming. Like I was like, I want to spend like $2,000 to get this, but I don't have enough this month to do that. So I shot a wedding, 3 commercials. I've done two or 4 other videos on that. Like I've done like 5 videos already this month, and that paid for me to do that. Like I had to do a lot of hustling, but like out of like 5 or 6 days worth of work, I've made myself enough on the side to be able to pay for that. But like that was just busting my tail working for it. Like, so like, no, not everyone has that opportunity, but like if you can ask for overtime in your job, work it. If you can ask someone, like whatever you have to do what you can to do that little bit of X, just to go like the 10% further than the next person would. And not everybody has that opportunity, but if you have the opportunity to work a little bit harder and make a little bit more, do it.
Yeah, and as you said, it won't work for every single person in the world. Like if someone has like 3 kids and they're already working 2 jobs, maybe they can't fully take advantage of that because they're already to the limit. But for the vast majority of people who are spending time focusing on their craft of making music and want to make it something, they can arrange them like that. Maybe it won't happen the first year, but they can set themselves up so that in a few years, they have an extra revenue source that funds everything. And if they really can't do that, then they have to look at the other option, which is finding ways to cut expenses instead of trying to make more money. But I think this is a good segue to talk about some comments that I've been neglecting. Yeah,
so real quick, I saw Samantha Thomas said if people can't afford computers, software, studio time, learn how to do it on the phone, since that's the only money that you have nowadays. You can do just about everything on your phone. And she's so right. So one artist, if y'all don't know who Paul Russell is signed to Ruslan's label. Legitimately, I don't know how many, but a couple of the songs that are on Ruslan's album with him, he recorded that on his iPhone. Like Paul Russell recorded that on his iPhone, and they just finessed it in the mix.
Wait, do you mean the music, the final vocal recorded? Oh, damn.
Yes, his final vocal, Paul Russell would do it on his iPhone.
That's nuts.
And like, that's the thing. Like, you can finesse your way. Like, you don't have to have the best. Good music will speak for itself. Now, granted, if you have a great sound and a great mix, people are going to want to listen to it more because it's more sonically pleasing. But if you can work your craft and gain 1,000 to 3,000 followers on Instagram just because you're doing little videos like that, or you're doing what you can, don't not work and not chase your dreams and not do things because you don't have the setup or the money. Find a way to make it work. That's something I do every day in videography. I will forget something, or I don't have the means or the thing I need to do this. Okay, so how do I do it? How do I figure out how to do it? Right. I've had times where I've left my stand for my boom mic, so I'll duct tape a boom mic to a chair and hide it. Like no matter where you're at, you can find a way to make it work. Like another thing I've done for stuff like that, I don't have enough mics to mic everyone. I will literally put my iPhone in front of somebody on a voice memo just so that I can have something. So like always finesse. Like if you can find a way to do it, do it. Don't let your money or your situation stop you.
Yeah, and for YouTubers especially, that's an excuse that happens. And also people that want to get into like doing a podcast will say, "Oh, I don't have a good microphone. I can't afford to get a microphone." But you can get pretty great results with just an iPhone and actually really just an iPhone. Like the microphone's pretty solid. I don't have it near me, but the little free headphones that come with an iPhone are pretty solid. Yep. Like AirPods, they sound pretty solid as a microphone. And who is it? I mean, we've already name dropped Ruslan a bunch, but who's that guy? Bats, right? He's making weekly music videos shot on his iPhone.
On his iPhone.
And they look pretty good. Like, and
his newest one was nasty. I will say, I would have never thought his newest one was on an iPhone, but it was.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you can shoot in 4K on an iPhone. You're not going to get the same dynamic range as you would on a professional camera. But if you light it the right way, it's going to look like 90% of a professional camera. And that's true with most gear in life, whether it's music or synthesizers or production or video. Like the cheapest or like cheaper to mid-tier products will get you like 90% of the way there. But the price to get from 90% to 100%, that's where the cost goes from hundreds to like tens of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
and that's why we look at professional studios that can cost multi-millions of dollars don't sound much better than a home studio nowadays, because you get these horrendous diminishing returns that only the most prolific of audiophiles will ever be able to tell the difference between them.
But if someone doesn't have the talent either, the really expensive gear isn't going to make them any better. Like the only thing that more expensive gear is going to do is just make you sound more polished. Okay, so I'll just tell you what I'm running right now. There's another thing with big studio. A big studio would have an old school like Neve 1073. So if y'all don't know what a 1073 is, it's an old school preamp that Neve made that's extremely if you're doing hip hop, that's the preamp you need to get. It's a transformer preamp, and all that does is it thickens and gives your voice like some body. It's the same preamp Drake uses, and a lot of people like that. It's in their vocal chains. And then a VCA compressor, a Neve Portico compressor, and like. The only thing that's doing for me over like, and I can't wait for you to hear it. If you haven't listened to the newest thing I sent you, I can't wait for you to hear it. But like, my voice has a natural grit to it. And in the old studio channel, it was there, but it wasn't as punchy. And doing it through this, all of a sudden, it's like that smokiness in my voice just came out. But like, that doesn't mean I'm a better singer or like my whole sound has changed. It just means like there's a little bit more there sonically. Like that's all it's going to do for you.
Yeah, if it's a lot better to be a talented producer or vocalist or whatever you are using crap gear than it is to be a untalented person using great gear. Like there's, if you look at a lot of, I've watched like some Holo behind the scenes stuff. If you don't know who he is, he's like electronic music producer, and he records like the final vocals for his songs on his MacBook built-in microphone. And he uses like stock plugins or just basic like Massive and Serum VSTs, which like it's like, you know, that stuff is not necessarily free or cheap, but it's nothing fancy. It's something that every single person in the world has. And everything what he does is just kind of like, nothing's fancy, but he's just talented at what he does. And so it shines through. Now, you the same kind of vein, if you got, I don't know, who's one of the best singers in the world right now. I don't know. I'll just name like a pop.
Depends what you like.
I'll name like a pop star. Like if you got like Justin Timberlake.
Charlie Puth. No. If you want to talk about harmonies and the complexity of music, Charlie Puth can make some nasty stuff.
You put that guy
He's got
in front
like
of
jazz pop and like all it's
but you put him in like an iPhone and use that in the final recording, it'll sound great because he's a great singer. And you know, won't sound as good as I'm sure he records in a multi-million-dollar studio, but it's going to be 95% as good, pretty much.
But the thing is as well, though, like, and this is something that I have to learn for myself. These people that you see that are like incredible singers, you got to understand, these people have been doing it for 10 to 20 years. They have professionally learned their voice. They know how to use their voice. Yeah. And like, you can be an incredible singer and just not know how to use it. So like, just if you're not the greatest yet, because I don't feel like I'm that great, but like every day I'm getting better, don't just stray away and say I'm not good enough. Instead, be like, yo, I'm going to learn how to get better and how to use my voice for the genre it needs to be, or just in general. So like a Charlie Puth and like all these people, like he has perfect pitch. And I remember watching an interview, he said he could hear the notes, but he couldn't sing them because he hadn't learned how to do it yet. And now he does some like ridiculous stuff. And like, but back then he wasn't the best singer at all. And like all of a sudden he put some time into it, and now look at him. So,
have you ever seen those interviews where they try to like test his perfect pitch, and they're so awkward?
They're stupid
because they're like, oh, we're gonna test you on your perfect pitch, and there's like 50 of these videos, and what they'll do is they'll play like a keyboard, and he'll just be like, you know, A, and then they'll play like a note on a sax and they'll be like, this is going to be way harder. They'll play a note in a saxophone and he's just like F sharp. And then all these people are so amazed by it. And I get, perfect pitch is amazing. Not everyone has it. It's one of those rare gifts that people get and can't seem to learn after the fact. But like, it's just so awkward to see him talking about it because you can tell he's just like, guys,
he's just fed up.
He's like, this is the least interesting thing about my life, and this is all I want to talk about.
They'll have like, I've seen them. They'll have like glasses, and they'll be like, all right, I'm gonna ding this cup with this knife. Okay, this metal knife. Watch, Charlie. Watch, ding, and he'll be like, I don't know, A flat. Just like, and he just looks at him like. Yeah. Okay, hit the next glass, I guess. I don't know why you're making a 5-minute video out of this, but
yeah. And now we're making a 2-minute segment about it.
Just about him. Yeah. Charlie, what note is this? And we just like click or something. Like, what's that? I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So I see some more comments. I saw some Facebook ad stuff that I don't want to dive into too much because it's not your current niche, but I'll give you some topic about it. Yusuf, if you're still hanging out, you're asking for if about marketing funnels, and if you've seen my Spotify conversion videos, I would consider those topics to be like top of funnel, and later on you would retarget those people to try to sell them stuff. Now, in terms of if you're running separate Facebook ad campaigns for your top of funnel and middle of funnels, I would run separate campaigns retargeting people for different actions.
Hey Andrew, if you would give me 1 second, I got to run to the bathroom real quick.
Oh yeah, no worries. I'll talk about this.
Talk about what you're good at. Talk about what you're good at.
And yeah, there was another one that came through. How can you target the right people if your style of music doesn't resemble anyone else's? I make rap music in Italian, French, and English. How can I find my niche? Let me switch the camera here. How can I find my niche starting from nowhere? So what I would do is, if you're making rap music, you need to find your subgenre if you have one. So you might start off your targeting as like, you're going to target Spotify and Apple Music, but then you'll niche down and you'll target rap or hip hop. And if you have a subgenre, try to see if it's there as a target. There's various subgenres in rap, like emo rap and stuff like that. But see if it's there. And then the next step, since you're rapping in Italian, French, and English, you might want to try to segment and target songs by the main language of the song. Like if it's mostly French, maybe try targeting people, because you can target languages, like target people that speak French. And I'm not sure if you can target people that speak all three. Like make sure they speak all three, not just one of the three. But you could probably do something where you target separately people that speak French, people that speak Italian, people that speak English. I usually just target English, but I'm sure you could pull off something. Maybe you only target French-speaking countries predominantly. You'll have to experiment, because that definitely complicates the process. But on the plus side, what's going to happen is that people that speak those languages are going to fall in love with you a little bit more, because there's a lot less in terms of competition, right? Like how many French and Spanish speaking artists are there? Like a lot less than English speaking artists. So that gives you a leg up, even if it makes it a little more complicated. And yeah, so Norman, the real one, hopefully that helps. Kidney Pop, thanks man, nice seeing you here. Solo hits music, what's up man? By the way, I'll probably edit this out of the podcast episode, so it's not just me talking to people for a bit. But okay. And then Yusuf, you are still cool. Yeah, so hopefully that gives you some context. Samantha, Toneden, their ad service is pretty solid. I did a test and it totally works. The thing is, it's not as good for people if you have a smaller budget, since it costs $50 a month just for the service. Unless you're spending a couple $100 a month, it's probably not for you. So you might have to get into the nitty gritty and learn Facebook ads itself, just because that you don't want to be spending 50% of your ad budget on a service, right? Then one more for JSSAN. What budget will get you picked up by Spotify? It can vary. Like if you check on my channel, I have a video called $100 Facebook ad campaign, and that one, he's at 22,000 streams, and he's He got 12,000 during the campaign, and he's gained another 10 in the last couple of weeks after the campaign stopped. So as little as $100 total for a song, and I've had songs where I've spent 800. So it varies. But Mr. Adameant, aka Jarrett, is back. So let me get my
Hey, if y'all have any name suggestions for me, or if you think my name's okay, let me know, because that's been a current topic we've talked about.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point. I get people ask me relatively frequently, like, what should I do in regards to picking an artist name? And for me, it's hard because I just use my real name. And for me, that made the process a lot easier, especially since like I have my YouTube channel around my name, and it, I don't have a super common name either. If your name's like, I don't know, Alex Johnson, you're probably not gonna be able to pick your real name. But yeah, what do you think, man?
I don't know, man. I think that's the thing, is like, how important is the name? I think that's like the question. Like, is the fact that like you don't have the Drake name or whatever, like does that take away from you as an artist, or I don't know, like that's the question. Like, does that take away from, like, okay, when Steve Jobs started Apple, he wanted it to be the first thing that came up in the phone book or something like that. So like, he's thinking in a marketing side, how do we make that work? But like, that might not be the most important topic to talk about, but like, I do actually like genuinely get that question a good amount from people, and I never know what to say. And often I say I recommend people using their own name if they can, but some people don't have names that are easy to pronounce or spell, and that definitely complicates the process. Like the big thing I say to avoid is anything with a weird character or super hard to explain spelling, because what happens in that case is every time you talk about your music, you're going to have this little weird conversation where you say like, well, it's like adamant, but it's with an E, it's don't mean to throw you under the bus, but just to use you as an example, you always have to say it's like adamant with an E, right? For people to search you. Basically. And that's not the biggest deal in the world. I mean, like, there's plenty of big artists like Bjork. How the hell, like, when she was getting started, she must have had that conversation. And I don't know if you know how it's spelled, but it's like BJORK, but over the O, there's like what is it called? Like a umlaut or something. There's 2 dots above it. But then you think like XXXTentacion.
That's a weird one too.
If you say that to somebody, they're gonna have no idea how to, like.
Right.
How many of you in Apple Music actually type out fully XXXTentacion? Like, you just like X, and then you're just like, oh, there it is, because it's big enough. But like, can you imagine the beginning, like, oh, my name is XXXTentacion.
Triple extension or extension.
So how do I type that in there? Like, that's the thing, is like some of these people like pop off with a name like that, but like,
right. And in general, like, it's probably best practice to avoid stuff like that, but you're right, it really doesn't matter long term. If you build a brand around a name, it almost doesn't matter. And it's just like, there's some good practices, like try to avoid awkward, weird spellings, but if you think you can put it in your branding or has a meaning behind it, like yours is kind of an extension of your middle name. And so but it's also an extension of my brand. So Adamant, my middle name is Adam, but Adamant it also means standing, not wavering. That was another thing that I wanted to do, and I wanted to push, is not only are we trying to welcome the rejected and do all these other things, but also we're not wavering in who we are and in what we believe. So especially when I start doing a lot of videos, a lot of times I feel like I come off like I am a super awkward tech nerd that barely passed high school and has no clue what he's doing. Oh yeah. So for all of you, if they call you stupid in school, I passed high school by like 1 point. Okay. So let's just say that. I mean, it's the same for me too. I barely made it through high school, and I have a master's degree in mechanical engineering now. So I mean, it's
my teachers. I've had a teacher legitimately tell me that I will be a failure and never get anywhere in life. And now, this is not a flex. This is not me trying to be rude. This is just a statement. So please don't take this in any other way. But like, she said that to me, and at 19, I'm probably making the same amount, if not more money than she is. And that's not like a flex or to say that I'm better or anything, but it just shows that like, you don't have to have a crazy degree or be the smartest book smart guy in the world. Right. Just work your tail off, dude. Like, anything is possible with hard work.
Yeah, and I even though I went to school in college for like 6 years and I have a degree, for a lot of people, like, I don't agree with the notion that every single person has to go to college. It's not for everyone. And honestly, I think in general for high school, like I wish I went to a trade school, because then in addition to having my degree, I'd also have a dope trade that I could use to benefit, not only like my engineering, because all that stuff's kind of related, but just stuff around the house, or have a backup skill in case the world turns upside down. Like, you never know how things are going to go long term. And JSSAN just said, mine, it's JSAN. I tell them to say Jason, replace the O for an A. And
that sounds like something you say at the end of the song, like Jason, replace the O with it. Like he would just say that as like a reverb call out at the end of the song.
Yeah,
like a producer tag.
And so like it doesn't. I don't think it necessarily matters too much. It's just kind of like branding. Like, if you can make it work, you'll make it work. But it is hard. It's super hard. Like, my side project is called Murder Night, but night is spelled NITE. So I mean, like I'm doing it too, like Murder Night. And for us, the name came from a Rick and Morty episode. The other guy was like, dude, I got the dopest name for a project, Murder Night. And I was like, I kind of like it. It's kind of dark and fun because it's related to a comedy show. And it's like one thing in the episode, they're like killing zombies or something. They're like, it's a damn murder night out here. And it's like, that's where it came from. But we wanted it to be kind of like a cute but kind of dark vibe, Murder Night. But
other than The Office, that is the best show that has ever been created.
I love Rick and Morty.
Dude,
I love it.
Incredible.
It's funny, it's dark, it's sci-fi, and it's all the things I love. And
yeah.
But anyways, I forget where I was gonna go with this from here. I blanked out for a sec. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about your visuals a little bit. So you have a dope music video for your song Rocket.
Yep.
And you haven't gotten big into like marketing your music yet, but I
feel bad. I only have like 4 songs out.
yeah. I mean, like, but I think you're at this point where, like, because of the quality of your content in terms of music and the videos, like the video especially. Let me see if I can get this on screen for a sec. And I won't. You won't be able to hear this, but
yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna pull it up on the stream.
Everyone else will. So this is his music video, and as we were talking about, he literally does like video, like every aspect of video stuff, but video creation professionally.
But this is just like proof that you can do a video anywhere, because the problem I've always had is I can film, but I don't have anyone that can film me. Yeah. So like, I handed my friend the gimbal and was like, yo, I have this idea. This is in an abandoned bathroom at like 3 a.m. in the morning. Like you can make it, you can finesse it. Like, and we didn't do multiple locations. The whole video is at one spot.
Yeah. Well, I'll turn on the audio for a sec.
It's all love, I know what you mean. Keep it a bug, cause you're afraid I won't have the means to put gas in the whip, food in the fridge. What you gonna do when a rent come due? Like, hey, and this music don't come broke. Go up like a spaceship.
But anyways, like, I think it's like, not only does it have a cool meaning because you're introducing this kind of story at the beginning, but it looks dope. And one thing that's come up a lot when I talk to other marketing people is they're talking about the importance of storytelling with your visuals. And you have this thing right in the beginning. I was a janitor for 3 years. No matter who you are, where you come from, don't give up on your dreams. And then it goes into you just mopping the floor, which is dope. And let me switch my screen.
And I've had people tear me apart for that video. Dude, the comments for that video, the ad for that video were hilarious. They're like, why is he mopping the effing floor for 3 minutes? Like, those are like 30 or 40 of those comments. And I've replied to all of them, just like joking with them and talking back and forth. But like, that's the thing is, like, I want to make videos that are dope, but I also want to put a message behind it. And I've got a song coming out on the 31st that it's probably not going to be one that everyone's like, yo, let me play this song. Cause it's like, you heard it on your live stream. It's like, yeah, it's kind of dark and it's kind of slow, and it has that Billie Eilish sound to it, to where like it's not something you're gonna play at a party. It's something you're gonna play while you're in your feelings, driving at 12 o'clock at night. Yeah, and like, and I never, and like, it's like always trying to put something behind that really means something. and something that plays into my brand and what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to do. I've been trying to figure out the visual for that one. Like, how do I do this one and give it justice to a spot where it makes sense and can emotionally affect someone the same way that I hope the song does.
And that's super, like, as I said, everyone I've talked to in the music marketing world, they say that's the most important thing. Like Matt Pelosi from Cyber PR said the first thing they do when they're trying to work on PR for an artist is they give them a big questionnaire. They try to find out from the artist what the meaning of the song is so that they can put a spin on it in the PR or the marketing, whatever service the artist is going for. And for you, it's just you want to tell a story. But for the marketer, it's how can I use this story to get people hooked into the music? And a couple ways, it's like if you're targeting people, you might actually genuinely target fans of both hip hop and people who work as like a janitor or in the service industry, because you can target by job. And so if anyone sees that likes that style of music and they also like work with their hands doing like hard work all day, like being a janitor, being anything in either public service or like service industry in general, they're going to resonate with that message. Like, especially if they're a music creator, they're going to be like, wow, this, even if they don't know who you are, like they're going to be like, this dude, like he's me right now, or he's me in a couple of years. That's what they're going to see. They're going to see themselves in your message. They're not going to see you. They see like the reflection of who they are and who they want to be. And like you told that story very well. And I mean, if you want to talk about the gear, like, did you use anything fancy with that? You said you just kind of gave your friend a camera.
We did, and we didn't. The reason I say that is the things that we used were not much different than if you spent $500 on a DSLR. The only difference is like a little bit of sharpness in an f-stop. But like if you're not even into camera stuff, then that's not even that important. I could have shot this visual on an iPhone, and no, it wouldn't have been. And this video still didn't, I don't think, really look all that great as far as quality. But like you still could have shot this on an iPhone with the same shots and the same concept and done it. We shot it on it was an 80D with a 50 to 75 mil lens on it. And now that was like a nice like L series lens, but like I think I got my 80D for like $1,000, and that's with two lenses, the camera, batteries, SD cards, a carrying case, like so you don't have to like. But like now I've got a Black Magic, and like now I'm getting a little bit more into like I'm actually playing with some real gear. But like no, not really. I mean, like the lens was expensive, but you don't have to have that lens to get the same quality. It's just kind of like a bonus. It's like the preamp. Like I can make the same song. It's just a little bit of a bonus. Yeah,
and this will be a cool way to and I apologize for the people listening to the podcast, but I'll show Bats's video, because we were talking about it before about how he
that new video is dope.
And I actually haven't seen it, so I'll just show a little bit. So let me just switch.
And it's all an iPhone. He does all of his. I think he does editing with the iPhone as well. And another thing, if you're gonna do visuals, LUTs. Now, granted, like, because I haven't learned color correction, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically like if you get like an EOS R or a camera like that shoots flat, you actually go back in and you make the colors really pop. Like Andrew has a LUT on top of his YouTube stream right now.
Right. I shoot in Canon Log or whatever they call it, and then I apply my same in Premiere Pro. You can save any of your color grades as like a lookup table or LUT, and then you can import it into OBS and have a color grade on your live stream. So that's exactly what I'm doing. So it's cool that you noticed.
So like you can shoot it on your iPhone and still get like the crazy cool colors and like make things look really good. And you can either do that yourself, or you're like, a ton of people sell them. Lugo sells them. Where's Lugo is a good place. And then Red Giant sells them.
Yeah, there's a bunch of this video by Bats, you can probably see it on the stream now if you have that open. But he has this dope color grade on it where like the only thing that's in color is his skin in that pole. Everything else is black and white, which is like a super unique look. Like you don't see the green in the trees or the grass. You just see his skin and his hair and the red poles. And that's basically just a LUT. That's you can go and like turn the saturation down for
on certain colors and stuff. Yeah. And like legit, like he shot that on an iPhone, and this guy doesn't have a crazy setup either. This guy's shooting into a Scarlett, or is recording into a Scarlett with like, I think he has an Audio Technica MT20, which is like a $150, $200 microphone. And if you play it for a second, like,
Yeah.
it sounds buttery. Like, it actually sounds really good. And he's not only recording this on his iPhone, he made the beat and he recorded it. Like, the guy is like doing everything on his own just because he spent the time to do it.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me play.
And he has like 400,000 followers on TikTok. So like, it's just consistency.
On my side and now I'm standing 10 toes. I don't need no friends, only got the kinfolk. Fall heavy like menstrual, one finna go mental.
All right, cool. Yeah. So as you can hear, it sounds pretty pro, especially considering he's doing everything himself.
Yeah,
and
by
just
himself.
on super minimal gear. All right, I got you back in the frame now. But and there was some overlap with the music and you saying it, but yeah, as you said, he has 400,000 followers on TikTok.
Nuts.
Like
crazy.
He doesn't have a big audience on his music yet, but he has built up an insane audience on TikTok. And
Yep.
I've struggled a bit to get TikTok rolling. I don't know if you're on TikTok at all.
I've been wanting to do TikTok, but man, I'm like, I don't have a video that's TikTok worthy. I've got one video that I want to do, but I need some help to shoot that one. All right. Let's just I'm getting off subject. I've done a lot of getting us off subject. If you drink coffee in the comments, you tell me if you agree with me. Coffee mugs are the easiest drink or the easiest cup to spill anything in. I swear to you. I fill up a mug, take one step everywhere. So I was like, how funny would it be if like the video opens up and he's filling up coffee? He turns to take one step and it's like a shot behind him and it's just like a bucket of water almost. Like it's like all over him. Like, and he's just spitting it out. Cause like, that's how my things be with coffee. I'd be like, take one step, I'll spill it on the floor. I'm like, you kidding?
No, that's true. And I bet like people who drink out of like coffee mugs every morning, I'm kind of an iced coffee guy. So like for me, it's less relevant, but for millions of people, they'll see that and be like, yep, that's me.
Relatable.
And then they'll share it with their friends who also drink coffee. And now the thing with TikTok, I know a few people that I like talk to that have like over 300,000 followers on TikTok. And then Ruslan is 30K, and then Outlook has like 2,000. And every single person says just crank out like 3 to 5 videos a day around a topic. Don't make it anything fancy. Pick a topic you can make big amounts of content in. So for you, if you're doing comedy sketches or anything highly produced, maybe that would be one type of recurring content. And then you have 2 or 3 other types in between so that you can crank out the volume or something. But
yeah, I've been thinking about putting some music on there. I don't know if you've checked it. This morning I put up a hotel jam session, sitting here in the hotel, and I did a song that I never released. So if y'all want to see that, hop over to my IG. It's Adameant Music. But yeah, like I've thought about doing stuff like that. Like Nick D does the mini jam session. I was like, that would be kind of sick. Let me try to do a spin on that.
Yeah, and like I think for some people, because some people are like, man, I don't think I could live with myself making content that's appropriate for the platform TikTok. So like it might not be for everyone necessarily, but I think almost every single artist can think of some kind of content that isn't like compromising their artistic integrity, so to speak. You know, like you don't have to get up there and dance like half naked on a table to get views. Like you can talk about stuff that you're passionate about, and there's an audience for it. Like it might not be as big as some of those channels, but like I forget what, like Bats, he makes these weird, like he just brings out his gimbal and he just like stands in front of his mirror and he's just like, man, a lot of you are going to like this video just because I have a cool gimbal right now. And then he leaves the room. And then it's got like 200,000 views.
Bro, I've seen people like millions of views, and it's just like a guy walking in, cutting his shower on, and he's like, my girlfriend just danced for 2 hours to get 1,000 views. Watch me get 1 million just turning my shower on. Like it's legitimately like TikTok is just like a meme. It's just meme. That's it. That's all it is, man. Yeah. That's all. I see very few people that are actually like what you and YouTube and Ruslan and IG, like they're making like produced brand focused content. On TikTok, people are just like, they're just walking, looking at the grass, and they get millions of streams or millions of views. So like, it's like almost like a meme. It's almost a meme in and of itself.
Yeah. And I found it very hard to figure it out. Like I've managed to get videos that can kind of consistently get between like 200 and 400 views, which is like, if you think about it, if you're cranking out a lot of videos, that adds up pretty quickly. Like it's not too hard to build up to getting thousands of views on your content every week or every month. And on YouTube, that would take a lot longer, or an Instagram that would take a lot longer. But to get, you know, to like Bats at 300 to 400K, or to get to you know, even Ruslan at 30K, you know, it's going to be a different story for everyone. I mean, Ruslan's not even talking about his music. He's doing like daily proverbs, like daily religious quotes and stuff like that, because he's, you know, he's big in the Christian hip hop scene and stuff. And so for him, he like 30,000 people just listening to him talk about like religious quotes, which is kind of crazy.
But that's still part of his brand. That's the thing, is he's learned how to, and he does it with his YouTube and stuff. He's learned how to leverage to where not only does he have to crank out songs, but people are also there to gain information from him. Like, you know, like he's done with me with IG. Like, I get on here and he's telling me how I should market this and what's best for my brand. Like, I don't come to him just for the music. That's like literally the last thing I come to him for, which not because he doesn't have good music. I listen to his music, but like, I'm always there to like, okay, what can I get from you? Like, and I don't mean it like taking, I mean like, what can I learn? What can I glean from your experience and stuff? And that's like why I'm there. Like that's the brand that he's built, and that's why he's got as many followers as he does, and as much consistently. He's got true fans. He doesn't have a lot of people that just come in and leave. He's got a lot of people that are just there. Like, he'll do a live stream, 2 of them a day, and he'll have 100 people instantly. Yeah. Because he's got fans that are engaged into him. It's not just music. They love him and what he can teach them and give them, and his thoughts and viewpoints. So
yeah, and I've noticed like the way that he does it, I've been trying to like take inspiration from it, is try to build like a community and be omnipresent around whatever it is you do. Really helps a lot on any platform. Like, and that's what I've been trying to do more and more in this channel, like with this type of content. Is get to the point where I see the same people showing up that I'm interacting with on multiple platforms, because it's one, it's just more valuable, but 2, it's funner, and 3, it's actually something that's worthwhile. Like, getting views in and of itself is kind of a waste of time, but like building relationships and having people that care about what you do is like way more valuable. Way more valuable. And like, just looking in this chat, you saw me talk like, oh, hey, Kidney Pop, you're here, because like I see him in the Discord group I got. I've seen him in multiple live streams, and then Jacob.
He's a top quality mop.
yeah. And like, you know, a bunch of people like Solo Hits and Samantha and Jacob and Josh Tice. Like, I see them and other people. Sorry if I didn't name drop you, but come up time and time again, and that's more important to me than like getting X amount of streams or plays or whatever. But yeah, top quality mop.
Top quality mop. Yeah, but like that's the thing to me as well, is yes, I want to get streams. Yes, I want to be able to make money off my music, not because I want to be the guy with all the chains, but because I want to have financial freedom, not only for myself, but also for the family that I'm hoping to have soon. You know, to be able to, hey, if her job's in Texas, I'm not stuck in Danville where I work at, because I'm making the most money there than I would going somewhere else. Like, I'm kind of stuck in where I'm at, and I'm stuck in as far as time I can put into music and things as well. But like, to have the freedom, but also the most important thing, and we said this the other day, the most important thing to me at the end of the day, I'm going to say this, and it's going to like contradict itself. It's not for people to hear the music, but it is for people to hear the music, because like, I'm not doing it just so they hear my songs, but so that they hear the message and know that they're not alone. Like, I would much rather have 1,000 people personally contact me or personally come to me and say like, hey, thanks to this song, or thanks to your message, or thanks to your brand and what you say, like, I've learned that I'm not alone, and that I can face anxiety and depression and the things in this world, and that I can make something out of myself, even if everyone doubts me, even if everyone doesn't believe in me. I would much rather have that and have 1,000 people that I've truly impacted in my life than be a Drake and I'm not saying Drake is, but then be a Drake, have millions and millions of streams, but not be helping or affecting anybody. Like, that was that's something I've kind of said to myself, is I don't have a problem with like being happy with where I'm at, or being like, if this is where I'm at the rest of my life, I'm not okay with it. But I have an issue with knowing that I could do better and refusing to. And the quote that I've kind of said for myself, and I don't know if I'll quote it exactly right, is failure for me isn't the money I make. It isn't the home that I put my wife in. It isn't the car that I drive. At the end of the day, if I die today, failure for me is being able to make a difference in the world and refusing to, or being too lazy to do it, or not seizing the opportunity because I wanted to do something else. Like success, in my opinion, is kind of like Jesus did, and kind of like all of these great people. They would rather put their bodies and their selves and their sanity on the line just so one person can know they're not alone, than protecting themselves and their beauty and their integrity and everything. I would rather go and be stoned to help somebody than just to sit back and watch it happen and be loved by millions. Like, that's who I am, and that's what my music and my brand, I ultimately want it to be, is like, if I have to put myself on the line and I have to work myself to exhaustion just so I can gain 1,000 followers that can be affected by my music, then I will do that, and I'll work myself until I'm black and blue and can barely hold my eyes open, because I'm driven by that thought of God has given me the ability to make a difference. And if I waste my life and don't do that, then in my opinion, I've failed.
Yeah,
like
it all comes down to like legacy in a way. You know, what kind of legacy do you want to leave for yourself? And for me, that's what I think about a lot too. It's like the way that you do that is essentially the more people you can help with whatever it is you do, whether it's music and spreading a message, as you said, kind of like having an escape from reality, from anxiety or whatever, or something different. It's in my case, I mean, I also do that in my music, but helping people spread their message. And I get for me, what keeps me going more than like views and ad revenue and subscribers is the one-on-one messages I get from people saying, you literally turned my music career around. Like, you helped me do what I want to do. And if you look at someone like, I don't know, Apple, like for them, it's pretty clear. Like, they changed the world for the better by creating
Absolutely.
the iPhone, and they left in all of these cases, like, there's a certain legacy left behind because of the way you help people on a one-on-one basis. And yeah, that's how I feel too.
Yeah, and see the thing, and it doesn't really need to be said, like, it's already obvious, but I just want to like make it obvious, is yes, I care about legacy, but I don't care about my name being part of that legacy. I would rather the movement I create and the people that I help be my legacy. Like, if my movement becomes Welcome the Rejected and let people know that they're not alone, and I was the artist that would stay after a show for hours just to talk to somebody, and because of that, their life was changed and then they did something better. If that's my legacy, I would much rather have that than, Ruslan died, it's a shame, but like, he's such a big artist and the name of Ruslan carries on. No, I would rather who I've been in the brand, and not just for the brand's sake. I'm just saying that, like, the movement, I would rather the movement be my legacy than my actual name, because I don't care about if I get fame. The only reason I want to be something is because if I don't have the platform, then it's impossible for me to reach that many people. So like, the only reason that I'm grinding and I'm spending money on ads is not so I can make myself big, but so I can even create a platform to be heard. That's the only reason. Like, I mean, streams are nice, but like, if you don't have a platform, then you can't do anything. You can't. If Martin Luther King Jr. never had the platform to say what he had, then all of that would have never happened. But like, he created the platform, and that's why he's known and why he made such a difference. Like, so that's thing is like,
that's the only reason why I ever essentially charge money for anything. It's never like, I want to go buy a PlayStation 5 or something. It's like, I want to do something. And this came up in another chat too, but there's something I want to do to build my platform more in a new way, which the end goal is to like help more people do stuff. And how can I build that platform? Well, I need money to build that platform. And because I need to pay for ads, or I need to pay for a service to host a platform, whatever it ends up being. So make some way to go generate that income, whether that's my course, or whether that's doing one-on-one consultations, or whether that's doing ad stuff and like ad management stuff, or whatever it is. But you get the point that to build a platform takes time or money, and usually both. So to be able to do that, you have to like do all this peripheral stuff around it. Like as we talked about for a lot at the beginning, build a studio and turn that into a side business, get into doing video production and turn that into a side business, or do it as a career. All of this stuff that you're doing is so that you can build a platform, but the platform's not the end goal. The platform's the platform that causes the end goal, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is like you're building these businesses or you're building these revenue streams. And at the end of the day, your boss or yourself, you become your own angel investor. Your music is your startup. You know, that's the business you're trying to start up. But everything else becomes like this. Okay, my boss is paying me to work. So my boss is technically my angel investor. He's in tech. He don't know he's doing it, but he's investing into the business I'm trying to start. So like, you just got to have that mentality of, here's the thing. Like a lot of people get upset, and I don't have a course. I'm not charging people to do whatever. But like for your example, like if people are mad at you because they want $10 or how much ever it is to get into your course, like if they're not willing to put the skin in the game, then they're probably not going to make it as an artist, because you have to work your tail off and you have to put some skin in the game. You have to pay a little bit to get a studio started, or even just to get studio time. And if you're not willing to even invest 10, 15, 20 bucks into yourself, then no one's going to want to do the same. If you're not willing to invest in you, then no one else is going to want to invest in you. And ultimately, that's what your brand is in music. You're giving people substance, and they're, giving you their views. Like it's a trade-off. Right. It's a I give you something, you give me something, and not in like a mean way, like I'm taking it from you, but like, that's what it is at the end of the day. Like when I listen to a Billie Eilish or these other people, I listen because the sonics of it are just beautiful. So like that gives me peace, but also like what she's saying and how it's being said. And so I get something from that. And in return, like that's why people go and buy merch because like the artist gives them and they want to, give back. And at the end of the day, that's what I think it really comes down to.
Totally. And I mean, that's why I started like my Patreon. I mean, I saw the idea of how Ruslan was doing it once again. Name drop him a million times this video. Might as well just add him in the title of this thing when it's done. But he had a Patreon. He had such a cool community, and so I was like, okay, how can I make a Patreon for my stuff, and how can I utilize that? So I made a Patreon that adds some extra behind the scenes content that doesn't make sense for YouTube, just because wouldn't make a good video, and so I can't make like a text post on YouTube really. So it's a good way to have that content for people who already want to support my channel because they like what I have to do. And that's one part of it. But the other part, I'm like, okay, well, this gives me some extra capital to go and pay for podcast hosting. And that's what started the podcast, which now also means I launched the live stream with it too. So the funding for the Patreon started a podcast that's free for everyone to consume. It started a Monday live stream that's free for everyone to consume. And it essentially created this type of content we're doing right here. Like this interview series wouldn't have really fully been created more than a couple episodes if I didn't have that Patreon community, because it's like that extra funding gives me the incentive to invest all that time to go forth. And I mean, podcast hosting isn't like a lot of money, but it does cost something. And then there's also the time factor and the processing the files and titling everything. But that's the thing.
And see, that's something I actually wanted to talk about, was especially from my position when before we started the stream, I told Andrew, I was like, I'm not a Ruslan. I'm not a this. I'm not 45 years old with a ton of life experience. I'm a young kid that's just, I'm trying to hustle, and I hope, and I'm praying it works out. Like but like, and I guess this is going to get us into a marketing thing, which would fit with your channel. But like, as far as like people starting, like I'm not making money on music yet. Like, granted, I can turn the things that around music, the engineering, and I can turn that into revenue, but actual streams and music, I'm not making money on that yet. And the thing is for me, putting $500 into music marketing is a lot more difficult than Ruslan that's going to make double that on merch sales. Yeah. So like for people getting started, I think that whole factor of putting money into it is really difficult to do because they don't see any return. Yeah. Like I don't see return. I've put thousands of dollars. I've probably put $2,000 or $3,000 in the 4 songs I've made and released, as far as mixing, recording, everything. But like, I haven't seen any return from that. But at the end of the day, I'm doing it because not only do I want to invest in people and all these other things, but I'm hoping at the end of the line, they're able to invest back into the brand and into the collective of Adameant and of the, Welcome the Rejected and all of those things. And I don't mean that in a, oh, y'all give back to me, pay me. But like as a Ruslan, like he can do $10 a day and make $20 because of a hoodie sale and stuff like that. So
right.
What is your thoughts on, for a lot of people in the comments, especially, like, what is your thoughts on people that it is, in my opinion, a lot more difficult to put skin in the game when you're basically just throwing that money in the garbage. Like if you say, I want to spend $200 a month on music marketing, if you're little, you're throwing that in the garbage. So like you have to justify the fact of, okay, I'm just going to throw this money down the toilet for a while. So like, what's your thoughts on like justifying that and people getting started and putting skin in the game and all that stuff like that compared to a Ruslan and yourself where you can make returns?
Yeah. So I've said there's a couple ways to think about it, but the way that I encourage people to think about it is treat it the same way you would music gear, like how you're treating buying music gear that you can turn into a side business, or buying music gear because it enables you to make better quality music down the road. You're building your fan base like you're building or buying a studio setup or buying an asset. Essentially, what you're doing every time you run ads to grow your Spotify following, just for example, you're spreading awareness for your music. On one case, you're building up a community of people that follow your account either on Spotify or on your social media, whatever channel you're running the ads through. And you're building essentially a pool of retargeting, because every person you retarget within like a half a year or a year, you can retarget later on Facebook ads. So you think of that as an asset. If you target, let's say you have ads that reach 1 million people, which isn't outside the realm of possibility for an ad campaign. In terms of impressions, you can reach 1 million people on an ad campaign, depending on what countries you're targeting. And maybe out of that million, only 2,000 people click to go to Spotify. Now, you might say, okay, well, I lost all that money. And depending on how the song performs in the algorithm, you'll make a certain percentage of it back, and depending on how it goes, you might actually break even or profit on that individual campaign. But you can't expect to break even or profit on it, because there's so many factors that you don't know. Usually you're going to lose some money for the first pretty big period of time as an artist, like the first 6 months or the first year, you're going to be losing money. So you have to treat it like, this is money that I can afford to lose. And this is money that I'm investing in my future, just like I would invest in, an investment, like investing in stocks or investing in a bond or something. Like you're building up a asset of a community, an asset of people that you can retarget and reach out to. And basically it has that snowball effect where now, like the first campaign you run, the first promotion you do, you're going to lose the most amount of money you ever do for the most part. But then the second one, you can leverage that previous one. And the third one, you can leverage those previous two. And in like a year from now or 2 years from now, or however long it takes you, and depending on your budget and how hard you work, at some point it's going to get to the point where, you have all this content you've built up over time. You have all these products you've built up over time, where it starts to actually give you an ROI, or a return on investment. And for me, I've had songs that break even or have a small loss, and I've had other ones that are more in the start to actually make money side, just on the streams alone. But where you make the most money is offering products. And we do have people like Young L3X or Young Lex that make a full-time living just off of his streaming revenue. That's more rare, but it can be done. If you're selling products to people, like, for example, Ruslan or, the community entrepreneur, they have marketing courses talking about how artists can sell merch. You can retarget all those people that checked out your Spotify to see if they want to buy a t-shirt and do all sorts of cool stuff with offering them products. It doesn't have to be a t-shirt, it doesn't have to be a CD, but whatever you want to sell them. Maybe you want to pitch them the idea of supporting you on Patreon or something, whatever the artist wants. But that's how you have to think about it. And as Kidney Pop just said in the chat, you got to play the long game with music. Music is not a get rich quick scheme. It's it's essentially the opposite. It's a get rich very slowly and struggle a lot along the way scheme.
And the thing is if you get rich quick, a lot of times it's not going to last. It's like rain. It might rain really hard for like a minute, but if it rains real slow, a lot of times it's lasting a long time. Like if it rains all day, very rarely are you going to see where it's like puking rain. And it's like, man, it's been raining for 6 hours now. It's always like the very light rain. So that's the thing you got to think about is like a J. Cole, like even though they're huge, they didn't just randomly skyrocket like a little pump did. But then again, who's going to be here longer? Who's going to be making more money down the road? Who's going to have a brand that lasts forever? Who's going to have that? And at the end of the day, that's like what you said. Like you got to treat it like a business. And they say, I forget how they say it, but like, a business isn't profitable until like a year or two or something like that. Yeah. Like even if you think your music like that is in like Yaki Raw, I guess how you say it, is, he's die trying. That's the fact. Like, and this is a quote that when I start making merch, please don't steal this, but when I start making merch, this is what I'm gonna put on my merch. Fear regret, not failure. That's my biggest thing. I used to fear, what if I fail? What if I'm putting all this money on it and it never works? Now I'm fearing, what if I never do it and I lay on my deathbed and regret the fact that I never tried? That is who I want to be. I would rather try and fail than never try and regret that I never did. Cause like, that's the biggest thing for me. Like if I die trying to do it, then I won't regret it when I die. I'll still be happy that I at least did everything I could in my life to make a difference. And that comes back to, I had the ability to make a difference and I did everything I could to do that. And at the end of the day, it came down to God opening doors or closing them. And if it wasn't where I was supposed to be, or if fate didn't push me in that direction, then it didn't. But I did everything I humanly could to do that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That's the stuff that keeps me awake at night. Like, did I do enough today? Have I done enough over this period of time to do what I want to do? Like that's really that's one of the biggest factors that pushes me to do stuff, is kind of like the fear of not doing enough and regretting that I didn't do enough one day, it's kind of scary. Like to think about that. If I don't try to do this now, am I going to be one of those people that's, old in their deathbed saying like, I had the chance to do this and instead I chose not to, Yeah. Every time you have a risk, you got to weigh the risk of like, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? And what's the best thing that can happen? And if the worst case is that you fail, but otherwise you're pretty much fine, like you're not going to be homeless, you're not going to starve to death, you're just going to lose a lot of self-esteem and maybe some money, and it sets you back 5 years in life. That sucks, but that's a lot better than like in 40, 50, 60 years, depending on how old you are, being on your deathbed and regretting like, man, I wish I just at least tried that, you only get one shot.
Let me see if I can pull it up here. There's a quote from Dave Ramsey that's perfect about this, like, because we're talking about failure, and honestly, failure isn't the end. Failure is a lot of times the building block to failure is the catalyst to being more than that. I don't know if that's the right way to say it.
There's a lot of quotes like that, and what I say
so
often is fail early,
Dave
fail
Ramsey,
often.
There you go. Dave Ramsey said success is a pile of failure. You're just standing on top of it and not underneath it. So like that's the thing that like, that's all mindset though. If I fail 100 times trying to do something, I can either let it crush me or I can let it. Same thing with the platform. If you visualize a pile of garbage, you can either be underneath it and hiding, or you can stand on top of it. And now all of a sudden you're over everybody else because you chose not to stay on the ground and let your failure kill you, but instead you use your failure as the catalyst for success. And,
right.
And that's the thing is if it fails, then you just readjust and say, okay, like I used to play soccer and I was a defender. I was a very aggressive defender. And if I missed the first time, if they got around me the first time, I didn't just say, they're going to shoot the goal. No, instead I came back and took their teeth out like as hard as I could the second time. Like I didn't give them enough space and waste enough time for them to take the shot. I regrouped, turned, and as fast as I could, I ran back towards the goal. So like my goal is to make a difference. My goal is to help people. And if music is not the way to do it, if music doesn't work out, then I'm going to recalibrate and say, okay, so now how do I make a difference? Now, whether that's speaking, whether that's this, that, and the other, whether that is just videography and that's all I do in my life, it's what's going to work at the end of the day. And what do I find freedom and fulfillment doing?
Yeah, that's how I think about almost everything I've ever tried to do in my life. It's been, how can I, to get good at anything, in my opinion at least, it's you have to fail as much and as fast as possible, because that's really all getting good at anything is. It's you've gone through all those failures and adjusted yourself enough to where the point where you're good at something. With guitar, for example, that was the first time I ever felt like I was able to teach myself anything and get good at something. And I learned that practice is just failing millions of times over the course of a decade, really, to get good at an instrument. And singing is just trying and failing, failing, and just repeating over and over again. Playing a sport, every time you said soccer, like every time you kick a ball, you're essentially either failing or succeeding. You fail enough times, you're going to learn what not to do so you can succeed. And most things I've done, like before I've had good results with my music marketing, I have 3 albums and 50 singles out. And it took me all the way until my last single, Dreaming, to get on a Spotify editorial playlist. It took me all the way till 2020 to figure out how to market my music to where I could get good results. And that's because I essentially just failed and didn't know what to do for the past 2 years. Or even before that, I've been making music for 16 years. Like, I was doing, like, the last 16 years, like, 15 of it, I didn't get good results. It took me a while, and that's how I view it too. Is, you gotta view the success as being on top of a pile of failures, I guess.
Absolutely. Anybody you see that's great didn't get there easily.
Yeah.
So,
and not to say that I'm sure I'm gonna fail a whole lot more this year. I've had plenty of like my song "You." I showed in that video I did show in the campaign. I showed how that flopped at first, and I had to readjust and fix it. And my song "Socialize" did great, but then the next song was twice as expensive in ads, and I had to readjust. My new single at first was super expensive, and I had to test all these new things to figure out how to market it correctly, to drop the cost down to what I was happy with. There's going to be a lot more failures. So. But that's how we learn, and that's why on my channel I tend to show not all the failures, but at least some of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But man, we've been chatting for 1 hour and 44 minutes, says the recording time.
There you go.
And I'm sure you and I could chat for probably much more. Considering the last time we talked, I think it was over 2 hours long. But
yeah, basically Andrew's telling me to shut up. That's basically what Andrew's telling me.
It's gonna.
No, I'm joking.
I still have to bang out a video for tonight, which is gonna be a good time. Before we'll chat, see if there's any questions after this. But we'll end the podcast here. So, is there anything else you want to let people watching the final episode of the video and the podcast episode know before we sign off?
I guess I'll just do a selfish plug. If you want to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere, YouTube, it's Adameant, Adameant music. Posting on there pretty often. If you want to learn more about the brand, the music, and who I am, hop on in there. I'd love to meet y'all. DM me. Let me know you came from Andrew's channel. And sweet.
Cool.